All right, good morning. I'm going to give you guys a quick crash course in my meat prep taper peak thingamabobber. It's 4 weeks. At the end, I'll explain a little bit more of why, but most of us don't really care about that. So let's just get into it. The number one thing is you're not going to leave it up to the judges. Record your squat sets. Make sure you're hitting IPF depth. We're hitting IPF depth because that is accepted in every single federation, and even the strictest of judges will give you whites for that. You're probably thinking, well, every inch below what we have to go takes weight off the bar. Short term, yes, but long term, if you're just used to squatting that deep, then it's not going to be taking weight off the bar. Plus, if you find out that the judges are a little bit more lenient that day, you're not going to worry about bombing out, but everyone else is probably going to be having problems. That's a huge advantage. And then you can make maybe a little bit bigger jumps than you thought you were going to make or whatever. But prepare for the worst. And then if you get the best, then you get lucky. Next, bench pauses. Record your bench pauses. And I pause it on my chest, and then I count IPF in my head. I don't compete in the IPF. I just know they have the strictest rules, so that's why I'm ingraining that into my head. And so I want you to record this because when you pause, you think you're pausing for an eternity, and it is never that long. It's always super short pauses. You're like, wow, I can't even pause at all. So record that. Make sure you are actually getting pauses. Also take commands whenever you can. So don't leave it up to the judges. They are unpaid volunteers doing this out of the kindness of their heart. So make their job easy and make sure that you're going to get white lights across the board. That brings us to the explosive controlled reps. You're going to move your reps as explosively as you can while still controlling the weight. This is going to maximize muscle recruitment and mimic using heavier weights while still using lesser weights, which that's important because we're going to save our CNS a little bit. We're going to maintain form better, and that's going to greatly reduce our injury risk. You're going to notice there's two numbers for the percentage based, and the high number is what you start with, and the low number is what you're going to drop down to if the reps start to slow down. So that's why those two numbers are there, which brings us to RPE. If you prefer RPE or you don't have any clue of your percentages, then use RPE. RPE I actually think is superior for a million reasons, but maybe not a million reasons, for a couple of reasons. But anyways, what you're going to do is on your first 5x3, you're going to work up to a triple at 7 to 8 RPE. Now with that, and then you're going to adjust the rest of your 4x3 to make sure that you're maintaining bar speed. Now after you hit that first triple for RPE 7 to 8, if you want to switch back to percentages, all you're going to do is add about 2 to 3% to every single workout thereafter. So that's a pretty simple way. Or you can just stick with RPE, and that'll give you a little more opportunity to adjust for whatever. Lastly, practice your meat jumps when given the opportunity. Don't force it, but if you plan on taking a larger than normal jump on meat day, which is probably anything over 5%, you should be used to taking those larger jumps. So if you're going to take like a 7% jump from your first to your second attempt, make sure you've made some 7% jumps in your training. That's pretty simple there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with deadlift because that's just the easiest one. You see, there is no workout A. We're only training once per week. Pretty simple, 10 by 1. Once again, if you don't know anything you're capable of, use RPE. And that last workout there, 2 weeks out, can be a feeler workout. Maybe you're going to work up to around 7 or 8, maybe even 8.5. And that will probably be, 7 to 8 is probably going to be in between your opener and your second, and then 8.5 will probably be just over your second attempt. And so that's how you should feel about that. And you see the percentages there, 80, 85, 89. Generally speaking, we're going to open at around 89%. Our second attempt is going to be around 95%, and our third attempt is going to be 100%. Those are the high versions. Obviously, if something goes wrong, you're going to make smaller jumps. So that is a deadlift. Which brings us to bench, the next simplest. Once again, the long pauses, you have no idea what to expect. Take bench commands when you can. Pretty simple stuff, 5x3, 5x2, and then a bunch of singles. And gradually the goal is as you go through, like maybe on that first workout of the 10 by 1 at 85, 75, maybe you only get like 2 or 3 reps at 85. Hopefully that next week you get maybe 6 or 7 reps at the 85. And that's just what we're going for there. You just want to make a little bit of progress here and there. You'll kind of notice this is kind of divided up into 2 days, where the first day is a lighter day and the second day is a slightly heavier day. And then That last workout, we just work up to a heavy single, and then we have the YOLO moment where we have competition day. So pretty simple there. All right, that brings us to squat, where things get a little more interesting. Squat linear, pretty much the exact same thing as squat as bench, except for we lower the overall volume because squat competes with deadlift for resources. Squat's more draining on the CNS, so we just lower the overall volume, keeps us fresher. And we get down to squat frequency or freak, and my normal frequency is 3 times a week for squatting. My squat does a lot better with higher frequency. Those learned motor patterns, my mobility is crap, and there is no better way to prepare your body for squatting than squatting, if that makes sense. So to maintain that ability, I just increase the frequency. So this is what I personally use as squat freak. I'll lower the overall volume and increase the intensity maybe a smidge, and the frequency goes up by an extra time per week. So it all kind of equals out. But then at 2 weeks out, we're squatting every 4 days, and we'll see how that all fits together in a little bit. I'll explain that 3x3 at 40% as well. All right, now we take a look at the split, or the schedule, as it were. So you see we're squatting Monday, Thursday, Monday, Friday. We're deadlifting on Thursday, then we're deadlifting on Friday. And we're starting with our normal frequencies, and then we're kind of spreading it out to kind of help with the recovery a little bit. You're going to match your bench workouts with pull workouts, which for me is barbell rows, pull-ups, maybe some biceps. I will probably start to keep this a little bit lighter at this time at 4 weeks out. I will start to drop some of the assistance work, and I'll keep the prehab work in. I consider light bodybuilding work to be prehab, so like 20 rep sets of tricep extensions, pec deck, 20 rep sets, stuff like that. I consider that prehab. Now at 2 weeks out, I'm dropping pretty much all of that, and my pull workout now becomes pull-ups and yoga. I'm not going to be training my biceps. I'm not going to be training my triceps at all. I'm going to drop the prehab work because I don't think that 2 weeks is enough time to open me up to injury, etc. Like maybe if I'm having maybe if something gets a little achy, maybe I'll put some prehab work in there if I need it. But yeah, so as we get closer to the competition, we're going to drop a lot of that assistance work, and our workouts basically going to be squat, bench, deadlift, and that's it. A little bit of pull-ups, a little bit of yoga, some mobility work here and there. Now I mentioned that my squat is heavily dependent on frequency, so you have that 3x3 at 40% with a question mark. That is optional. I'll throw that in there if I feel like I need it, and I'll put it there. See how we're squatting every 4th day. For me, that's a little bit on the low side. I think I do best squatting about every 3rd day. So if I feel like I need it, I'll throw that in there on that Thursday at 2 days out, or I might throw it in there again on Sunday at 6 days out, or on that Wednesday at 10 days out. Put that in there whenever I want, whenever I feel like I need it. It's not going to affect my muscle recovery. It's not going to affect my CNS. It might actually help improve my muscle recovery, to be honest. But it will definitely keep my mobility up and keep my learned motor patterns up. So that is the original version. You see how pretty simple stuff. We do play with the frequency a little bit, but we keep the intensity high, and all right, so that brings us to the frequency version, and bench and pull workouts stay exactly the same. The assistance work stays exactly the same. We're still going to drop it out. We're going to keep the prehab in. We're going to drop the prehab out at 2 weeks out, etc. All that stays the same. The only thing that changes is that we're squatting 3 times a week, and we lower the overall deadlift volume a little bit. And that's it. Everything else stays the same. And then we're going to go back on to the 2 weeks out. You're going to notice it looks exactly the same as the other one. We're squatting every 4th day now. And I will still throw in that 3x3 at 40% whenever I need it. Okay, now the test to second and test to open, or test to approximately 85%. What we're doing here with the test to second is you are going to mimic your warm-up sets and your attempts as closely as possible that you're going to use on the competition day. So let's say basically you're going to take your single at 80%, you're going to take your single at 89%, which would be your opener, and then you're going to take your single at 95%, which is your second attempt. That's your entire workout. You're done. You just want to make sure that feels good. You want to make sure that you know how to hit that. You don't want to be surprised on game day. Test to open, the same thing, but you're going to stop at 89%, or whatever your opener is. Maybe you'll open a little bit lower on your deadlift. Now the test to approximately 85%, basically what that is you're going to work up to either your last warm-up set of 80% or your opener of around 89%. Now Now for the bench, I'm going to take that opener every time, and I'm going to pause it for like 10 seconds, just build that confidence, make sure I can hit that for a million seconds whenever I need to. For the squat, I'm probably going to cap that at the 80% the last warm-up set. I just want to feel the weight and maintain that strength adaptation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Stay tuned if you want to, and I will go into why. Okay, so the why. 4 weeks probably seems like a long time to taper, but if you think about it, we're not really tapering as much as, consider this a specificity block. We're getting very powerlifting specific, and I think that 4 weeks is about the perfect amount of time for that. You could probably go a little bit longer if you want. You could probably go a little bit shorter, but I like 4 weeks. So that's why we go with that length. 4 weeks is not a long time to fully commit to a powerlifting meet. I mean, obviously you're training your entire off season for this as well, but you're doing 4 weeks of very specific powerlifting training, and I think that it's a lot of fun. Give yourself to it. Next, I don't like the idea of overstimulating the CNS, and so I think CNS fatigue does two things. In the short term, it takes weight off the bar, which in the long term takes weight off the bar. And then also, when you're tired and you're fatigued, that increases injury risk. And neither of those things are what we're looking for, and your CNS is not going to add 1 billion pounds to your total. Your CNS will take 1 billion pounds off your total. So the idea that we should train it or that we should fatigue it to get an adaptive response, I don't think that is the ideal way of doing that. I think just being stronger is a better way to go. To be stronger, you need to be healthier. To be stronger, you need to put more weight on the bar. And I think keeping your CNS fresh is the better way to do that. I also don't like the idea of taking a week or 2 weeks off before the meet for a couple of reasons. Number one, we just spent all that time adapting and getting our body ready to move that weight. That week off, that 2 weeks off, your body's going to start detraining. Also, you're going to stop learning motor patterns, and a lot of other things. And I think that obviously the larger you are, the more time you should probably need to take off before the meet. But the smaller you are, the less time you need, and the smaller your numbers are. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking they're a lot larger or a lot stronger than they actually are. Like even Ben Pollock, who totals like 2,000 in the 200 class, but he walks around at like 235, 240. He takes heavy singles like on Monday or Tuesday. And so that's just like. But then you have Richard Hawthorne, who's amazing, and he takes 2 weeks off. I can't find that source anymore, but I think I recall him saying that he did nothing for 2 weeks before his meets. That's a very old school way of doing it, and you can't argue with his results. One of the greatest of all time, especially at that body weight. And then you have Chad Wesley Smith, who's doing a lot of lighter weight. He's still squatting like twice that week before the meet. He's still benching twice or whatever. Of course, he keeps the weight extremely light, and it's just to maintain the motor patterns. But you get the point. Everything is different. There is no one size fits all. But generally speaking, people take way too much time off and do way too much to fatigue their CNS when I think that's unnecessary and unoptimal. So that's why we take this approach. We keep the intensity high. We keep the frequency the same as what we're used to. Oh, that's another thing. Oh, that's another reason why you don't want to take the time off. It's because they tell you not to eat anything weird on your meet week, right? You don't want to do anything out of the normal. Well, taking a week off from the gym is out of your normal. Me personally, my body starts to shut down if I've taken a day or two off. Like, not shut down, it just gets rusted shut. I'm not super old. I'm definitely not young either, and I just need to maintain the blood flow so that the blood will flow, if that makes sense. So that's a pretty good overview of why we're doing the things that we're doing, why I do the things that we're doing. If for some reason this is too much for you, I should have brought this up earlier, but if for some reason your CNS does get fried in this and you just feel tired, take that 3x3 at 40% and just do a little deload workout. That's not going to affect your overall. It's going to be a lot better to come back fresh, but still get the frequency in the next workout than it is to just take that completely off or to try and push through something where you're going to have a suboptimal performance. So you can take a little deload workout as you need it. So I hope this helped. You can probably copy this verbatim for a pretty decent specificity block and taper. or you can just take a couple of parts that you like, or you can just do none of it because you think it's complete trash. But oh, I'm also going to leave a bunch of taper videos in the description. They're all wide range. There's one from Brandon Lilly who takes the time off, but he's still doing a lot of mobility work and stuff to stay active. And then you got Bryce Lewis, who takes kind of my approach, or maybe I take his approach almost verbatim. We all have different things that we agree on. We all have different things that we disagree on. But the one thing that everyone is going to agree on is that there is no one size fits all. So in the end, you're going to have to find what you need to do for you. Personally, I think that this approach is the best approach to start with. It's easy to adapt, and it's the least likely to be screwed up. Or it's the least likely for you to get on that platform and just feel like crap, or have the weights feel extremely heavy. So with that, hope you enjoyed the video, and may the force be with you on the platform. Peace.